What's going on, guys? It's Music Player 1979 coming from West Texas tonight. February 9th, 2015. I've compiled some videos that are very compelling. Throughout these videos you'll see the blue object that, with its arms, throw around 3 massive moons with it. And while doing so, creates disturbance all around it. And those objects being spilled from this main object that is seemingly barreling for us go in their own direction separately. But in turn they are gripped by a gravity pull from the main object. So while being pulled, they have a pattern that each one of them give. I've been following the system for well over 2 years. And while doing so, I've learned new things every day. New things that the system does to reflect itself on the horizon as I see it. The activity that is being created from the NIBIRU system is record-breaking now. I've always said that everybody has their own unique story about the changes that are in their lives that affects them throughout their day. Now it's at our front door and it's beginning to knock. The animals have been speaking very fluently throughout the world in different locations, as well as our psyche pattern. The iron oxide that is emitted from each object has a strain that is not compatible with our electrical interactions. So again, this brings us back to step 1. The negative and positive interaction, whether they are a massive object as we're speaking of in our Earth, or that object in us. Everything on Earth somehow, in some way, is electrical. The system is very beautiful. It has a movement very elegant. It's only perfect in everything it does. All the turns, the lighting, and the misty effect that it carries with it while traveling through the oxide dust. While these objects in different sizes travel, they have a direction that they are heading. And past civilizations over and over again have explained this very significantly. We've been shown signs which became very apparent to me in the Bible. My religious upbringings steered me away in the long run from the religious aspect of life. That was until 20 years later. I fumbled onto a vision that was out of this world. Phenomenal. And I knew that somebody was tugging at me and wanted my attention for some odd reason. And I kept thinking that I'm just an ordinary person trying to make his way through life at the best way I can. But as these visions started to take effect in my life, I started realizing that there were a lot of changes that needed to take place as well. As the visions continued, I steered off into the UFO activity. I was curious on why they were here in the sheer numbers that they are. And as I got used to doing this, night after night, it was apparent that this voice seemingly came from an entity of some kind. This voice has spoke to me very few times. And when it does, it's very clear to me. Strongly spoken. As my mind started to understand the full complexity of this, of what was taking place, I still undermined myself over and over. But one day of denying over and over, I said, no more. I've seen things that is not physically possible to see. Through physics, through science, through the educational path that we have taken for thousands of years. But we do know that civilizations in the past have written and have carved and have buried information pertaining a catastrophic event of some kind. Throughout these videos, they show the primary object and its moons that it carries again. And we cannot forget the red object because it's very beautiful and it's very vividly bright. It has very large wings and it is headed towards this direction at a slight bit of an angle to it. At first, when I first noticed that red glow, it was about 2 years ago and it was very faint and very small. In the last 2 years, I've seen the red object 3 or 4 times, along with multiple other colors on different horizontal levels. I've always said that the system, when it interacts with the oxide cloud and the other objects, it creates the colors of the light spectrum. But we have to also remember that when it interacts with each other, whichever color it is apt to change as it interacts with each object. And this is because of the size of the objects and the angle of the objects that are showing themselves in that particular color. Because when they leave the light from the sun and the object that creates the lighting within it, it starts to dampen in color. This is why it is required to have infrared while viewing the system, because it's very cold. It's been around for billions and billions of years. It has, I believe, and many scientists believe, that it has created around our solar system the Oort cloud and the Kuiper belt. Last time around, there supposedly was a planet in between Mars and Jupiter. And as this system came around, one of those times it smashed into that object, and that in turn created the Kuiper belt. Scientists for years have been discovering planets beyond our own. For thousands of years, humans have gone through this cyclic cycle of change, starting their lives over again, learning how to live, how to breathe, how to love. And seemingly we do it again and again. This is written, inscribed. It's proven that there have been crafts of our technology in the past. It is also known that the entities that gather at a certain time is for a reason. And folks, they are gathering by the millions. I know this on a personal level. I've seen over 20 different kinds of UFOs, if not more. They all come in different shapes and sizes and colors. And each one of them are unique in their own way. I want to show you throughout this video the lighting. I want to show you the movement of the system, how it creates the hands that hold the objects, and the veins that just wisply go over the edges of it and hold that. It's the love, the hand that holds the ball.
It is a tough thing to be able to religiously open your mind and share it with the world, because you don't know what to share and what not to share, and that is written in the Bible. If God speaks to you, you must share it. You must, if it's coming from Him, you must share His word. And I'm still in that, I mean, I had a vision here a couple weeks ago, and I'm really not sure if it was yet a vision or a premonition, And that was a bit different, because it came and it went. It was nothing that stuck with me. I just try to share with what I see and how I feel with the world, and I hope I'm still doing it correctly. I mean, there's no right or wrong, in it. It's just sharing with your heart and making sure that your heart is pure when you share it, and you're honest about it, and you only speak to help, not destroy.
Yes.
And it is a strange thing. I'm still, I've been going through it for, a little over 2 years, and I'm still having a hard time with it. I've been through a deep mental struggle the last week, and I just, in order to get my mind to where the acceptance, the drive ability is there, I have to be able to be in that solid created for us, you know?
Yes.
And it's really, you know, I don't know, it's become very hard on me the last week, you know, to even remotely think about the system. And, you know, I have so many times that I tell myself, Curtis, you're done. You know, you're done. You've done enough. You know, you've done enough to show the people that matters. And my heart keeps pumping, and it keeps telling me that I'm not done. You know, that I'm not done sharing with the world. And until, you know, one comes by that looks like one in my dream, I'm not done. You know?
Yeah.
And I was sent a picture here a couple days ago of a object's debris path, and of course, commonly, you know, the deception from the common person would say, okay, well, that's just a cumulus cloud, you know?
Yes.
But the fact of it is not a cumulus cloud. It is a object. It is debris from an object that's being thrown across the sky slowly, you know?
Yeah.
And everybody knows that, well, the common person knows that if you see an object out in space and you see that object and it's traveling fast, you know that that object is far away. But as it comes closer, that object will move slower and slower and slower as it moves closer to you, you know?
Yes.
So I knew in April, when I captured that object, those objects with its stars moving in a southern rotated path, I knew that that was far away, you know?
Yes.
Now watching it build, as it's building, and its clarity from within is only making itself more known as the days continue. Before it was a cloud. I can make out, okay, there's an object there, there are stars there, I can make that out, you know, but I could not make anything else out. And then through the year and a half, wow, here comes this strange cloud that formates itself in a certain pattern that I've never seen before. And I watched this guy. We all did the kid thing, you know, we watched, and still as adults, you know, we did this, you know, we watched, we made pictures out of clouds and such and so forth, you know.
Yes.
But now it's getting closer, it's becoming more defined within it, you know, which means not only the cloud are we able to see, we are able to derive the objects that are within this cloud, you know. And that is what tells me that the movement of the system is enclosing itself within us, you know, upon us. You know, I mean, just a week ago, I went out, took the camera out, I zoomed up into this cloud, and I didn't even have to zoom. I could make out the objects within it and that were moving within it, you know?
Yes.
And it is amazing. I mean, you get this clouded form that have cuts in it, you know, that have abrasions in it. And these cuts and abrasions are caused by the objects that are held within it, whether it's one that leads, that's at a good size, or whether it is one that is minutely small, that's cutting the edges of the cloud itself. And most of the time when these planets are laid within the cloud itself, we're only able to make out the tops of them. I mean, literally, half of them, you know? And the other half, of course, is laid within the oxide cloud, you know?
Yes.
And the cuts, the split, you know, the gaps that lead from one cloud to the other, those gaps, and people don't realize, those, you can make up the size of the object that create those splits in the cloud. Because that's exactly what happens, you know? A smaller object goes in front of the big one and creates that beautiful cut, as we were to cut a cake.
Yeah.
Very clean slice. And then what follows it are the bigger objects that cut it even more and more wider and more wider and more wider until there is no cloud there. And if there is no cloud there and it's being, you know, per se, eaten by something, that is a large object that is just running over it, you know? I mean, it is truly amazing. And the reflective occurrence that happens with the system. You can see a dark object at times that looks like our atmospheric color, the blue, beautiful blue, you know? We can make that, but other times we're able to see the same object in a clouded form, which means a circular cloud, you know?
Yeah.
And that is a huge deception of the human mind, the psyche pattern that we build throughout our day. I mean, we're not supposed to see a circular object that stands in the middle of a clouded form, you know? And we're not supposed to see a circular cloud, you know, within a beautiful atmospheric colored blue. You know, we're not supposed to see those things, you know?
Right.
But when you see these objects for the first time create the pictures that the Bible speaks about all the way through Revelation, you know, the left and the right moving towards one another, and the left creating humanity, and the right creating humanity, and creating weapons, and creating all sorts of just mystical things, you know, and the duality, the masking, you know, that creates with each and everything. You know, it creates life, the postures, you know, within the face and within the body structure itself, you know.
Yes.
It truly does make a story each and every time somebody sees it. You know, I strongly believe that in the last days of the last civilization, they saw these things. They saw exactly what I saw. You know, they saw humans fighting barbaric creatures. They saw, you know, horsemen, yellow, white, black, and orange. They saw these people sitting in these thrones. They saw, you know, just everything. You know, they saw the uptick of the entities that are just, that's a completely different thing.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the entities have swarmed to us in the last couple years by the millions. I mean, there are so many up there. If somebody were just to take a camera and put it slightly slanted at the sun, it would look like rain. There are so many, you know?
Yes.
And they're here for a reason. And they're here for our passion, our physical to our spiritual, you know?
Yes.
There's just so many things. And I do believe, yet again, there is a supreme creator. There is, you know, there is a God. But from then on, I believe it's derived from the system. You know, the sun. You know, and forgive me for saying it, but, you know, Jesus Christ, I do believe he was derived from the system. I do believe that Mary and Joseph were derived from the system itself. You know, one common line is drawn across the sky. There's our chemtrail idea. But once that line goes up underneath that planet and starts to go over, it creates a bend on both sides. That's the gravity well of it.
I'm out here recording right now the sun, you know, with the system clouds going by it, and it's doing this thing where it peaks out. You know, all this time that we've been recording the people that have caught this body in front of the sun, you know, when the clouds go between it and cut it off and show it and block out the sun, and then when the sun comes back out and brightens up, it kind of blends into the background. That particular body, it has grown so immensely that I thought that that's what I was recording was the sun, until the actual sun comes out and it disappears. So it is coming a lot closer.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you know, there are 3 prominent moons that create life with this system. And the 4th one is, of course, the winged one, you know. Now, last week, when I captured those 3, prominently I saw 2, but I knew by seeing those 2 that there was the 3rd one there. It was just the way the light was bending with it, you know?
Yeah.
And when I saw the shadow of the side, of the right side of that moon, when I saw the shadow, the making of it, my heart almost dropped. I mean, because these moons were, to me, very close to us, you know, and they were moving from the east to the north, in that, that set angle. And I've caught, this certain structure. It's a V, a very strong V, with the very beginning of the planet, and it has 3 of them that are set within this V. And I've watched this go from very minutely small again to just what it is now. When you get that icy feel, that icy look of it, you were able to make out everything. I mean, it's, I don't know what it is, but it feels, through my sight, it feels very icy, very pure, and light is able to pass, to shield from it. Everything opens. It's very odd, but I've seen it 2 or 3 times, And now that we are changing it to the winter time frame, I do believe that, the northern hemisphere will be able to make these objects out more vividly and more clear. No matter what the light, the bending of light from the sun to us is creating,
Yeah.
I mean, it is truly amazing. It really is.
Well, it's been beautiful, and it's been, I don't want to say ugly, because even in the darkness parts of it, it's just so astounding to me, the perfection of it and the duality of it, just like humanity, the duality. And perhaps it's presenting our own duality to us, because that is something that we don't make note of enough, is the fact that we have a duality. And there's so many times that we allow the darker side of ourselves to reign, when we could just as easily choose the side that is perceiving and is of the light and is willing to learn, instead of just blocking everything off. And I think this system presents, in a form of whatever it is, it presents humanity with itself like a mirror. And just the fact that you can feel all these different things. I got razzed on yesterday by a troll. Oh, you can see it, you can smell it, you can blah blah blah. Well, yes, I see it, I smell it, I feel it, I sense it, I taste it, the whole thing. And it does things to the body at different times. And I really, really believe that part of what people are feeling, and I'm not going to get detailed, but the fact is that this thing is primal, and it is hitting people in the primal core of their body. And so whatever things happen to us on that level, whether it be violence and all that, or more of a primal nature in the physical aspect, I really believe that this system is causing things to happen to people that they don't even have a clue that is what's happening, and that's why they feel whatever it is at that time, including elation. Oh my gosh, I've had moments where I could be in the middle of something drab or boring, and all of a sudden I just feel elated, and I get this urge, get that camera, get outside, and next thing I know, there's something out there that has, I felt like, man, that was calling my name. I could just feel it, But the thing is just, it's so incredible, even in the darkness of it. It just screams glory, because of the duality and balance in everything. And God's not going to create something that doesn't have balance, because that would go against the whole idea of perceiving in the first place for God himself, as it were, because it'd be pretty boring as a God if you never had anything to do but sit there and know all you're capable of. And how could you know what you're capable of without presenting things to a reality to gain experience, and let each individual portion decide what they got out of that? That in and of itself helps creator grow into more and more and more. All these things you hear about the universe expanding. Well, of course it's going to expand. Every single experience that each and every one of us has gains into the whole, and causes it to expand with more and more and more knowledge and understanding of itself. And I think this system is beautiful, even in its darkest form, because it is a part of creator and a part of creation, and it's a part of us,
What's going on, guys? It's Music Player 1979 coming from West Texas tonight. February 9th, 2015. I've compiled some videos that are very compelling. Throughout these videos you'll see the blue object that with its arms throw around 3 massive moons with it. And while doing so creates disturbance all around it. And those objects being spilled from this main object that is seemingly barreling for us go in their own direction separately. But in turn they are gripped by a gravity pull from the main object. So while being pulled, they have a pattern that each one of them give. I've been following the system for well over 2 years. And while doing so, I've learned new things every day. New things that the system does to reflect itself on the horizon as I see it. The activity that is being created from the NIBIRU system is record-breaking psyche pattern. The iron oxide that is emitted from each object has a strain that is not compatible with our electrical interactions. So again, this brings us back to step 1. The negative and positive interaction, whether they are a massive object as we're speaking of in our Earth, or that object in us. Now, I've always said that everybody has their own unique story about the changes that are in their lives that affects them throughout their day. Now it's at our front door and it's beginning to knock. The animals have been speaking very fluently throughout the world in different locations, as well as our